welcome everybody. This is great. It's our first time doing this. So I'm Dan Yaman. This is Alice Yaman.
Hi.
Hello. Because someone kind of had to be like the moderator, I kind of am doing this, but by no means am I in charge of this event. We have a whole group of people that you're going to hear from tonight. I am a board member for the Four Walls Project. And I just want to say thanks for joining us. None of us are professional fundraisers. This is not what we do for a living. We are not web designers. We are not Zoom experts. But we're here to give you an update as to the Four Walls Project, something we're very exciting about. We wanted to thank the current donors that we have. That a lot of you guys are out there are current donors. And if anybody is interested in being a future donor, or a participant when we travel back to Nicaragua, it will be a wonderful thing to have you as part of the family. So that's our welcome message to everybody. As I said before, for the people just joining, if you have a question, you can put it in the chat and we will address those at the end of the presentation. We're hoping sometime between like 30 and 45 minutes for this presentation. We've timed it out a couple times. I think we will stick to that. We don't want to make anyone bored, so we're going to try to do that. Just as a little bit of an introduction also, you know, it's an interesting history which you're going to hear about. You know, just recently you may be aware of, like in 2018, there was some political unrest in Nicaragua. Then there was coronavirus, there's been hurricanes. So there's been a little bit of turbulence in that country over the last couple of years. We've had our own turbulence as well. They've had a particular amount of turbulence that started back in 2018. Because of that, a lot of the big school groups that we used to send to Nicaragua, big groups to build houses, haven't been able to travel down there, although a bunch of us have gone down intermittently over that time. The hope is that in the future we will be able to send groups back down. We're optimistic that that will happen. So without further ado, I do want to point out that we do have Pepe. If you see on the board, there's Pepe. Pepe, puede decir hola? There's Pepe.
Hola.
Pepe is our Mason from Nicaragua, joining us from El Salce, Nicaragua tonight. So with that, I am going to start up and I'm going to share the screen. And you're going to see a presentation if this goes well, and I hope it does, because if it doesn't, I would be very upset. Is everyone seeing a screen?
Yes.
Excellent, it's working. So welcome to the Four Walls Celebration and Fundraiser. So with that, we are going to start. So we have a program for tonight. Hopefully it's going to take between 30 and 40 minutes. Once again, if you have a question, you can put it in the chat. Colin will be monitoring that. This is our official welcome on behalf of the Board of Directors. And this is our group. So the people putting this together tonight are on that screen. You'll see us on the video for the meeting tonight. So we really appreciate everyone being here. With that, I get to be quiet finally, which is probably good because most people are probably ready for me to be quiet. All right, here we go. So we're going to start with a brief history of the Four Walls Project, and Megan and Bonnie are going to take it from here.
Great, thank you so much, Dan. My name is Megan Haslam, and I am a founder and member of the Four Walls Project Board of Directors. And we are just so excited that you are all here. Thank you so much for being here and sharing some of your time with us. As you heard Dan say, we are not pros at fundraising or Zoom, and Four Walls is actually a volunteer-run organization entirely. Our project is based in El Salce and Nicaragua, and we're just all about building houses and connecting people. And we do have a board of directors that are located here in the US. So you get to meet a bunch of the members of the board of directors. You'll certainly hear more from Pepe in a bit. And we'll hear a little bit from some proud owners of Four Walls homes. But to start off with, we wanted to give you a little bit of context. So on this next slide here, we're going to see where we're talking about. A lot of you have been there before. But for folks who haven't, if you can see that little red circle over in the northwestern corner of Nicaragua is where El Salce is located. And for people who've been there before, you'll remember that it is not cool. It's cool because it's neat, but it's really hot. It is actually one of the hottest regions of Nicaragua, and it's about the size of New York State, that whole country. But there's a lot of biodiversity in a lot of regions, and we chose one of the hottest ones. So we're going to go to this next slide to see what El Salce itself actually looks like. Some years ago, I actually lived in that green house there, and that's right near the middle of town. And the next slide, we'll see what some of the rest of the town looks like. A lot of people live on dirt roads like this, and it gets awfully dusty when you live in a place like that. So if we rewind for a second, go back about 13 years, I was a Peace Corps volunteer, as in this photo, and I was providing environmental education classes to kids primary schools in El Sauce and in some of the small communities around it. It was an amazing place. It was really hot, and I admit that that was really hard at times. But what really helped me get through every challenge there were the people. The people in El Sauce are the most caring and hospitable and lovely humans I have ever met, aside from some of you. And they have just really burrowed into all of our hearts, and I think made us feel at home whenever we're there. So I'd been there for about a year in November of 2007, and I tried a bunch of projects. A lot of them were not very successful. And I was trying to figure out what else I could do to help the community. And in that time, I'd noticed that every time I met somebody new, they would invite me into their house. They'd give me a cup of coffee that was more sugar than coffee, but something like coffee anyway. And they were just incredibly hospitable. But a very good friend of mine just never would invite me to his home. And I soon discovered why. We'll see on this next slide what his home looked like. So that was part of their house. It was made of crumbling adobe bricks and some pieces of zinc and plastic. And that's his mom, Doña Margarita, over there in the corner. Incredibly happy despite living in a home that was literally falling down around her. And I found out that the reason why they wouldn't invite me over was because they were worried about and embarrassed by their home. And it wasn't just them. In this next slide, we'll see some pictures that I actually brought home for the holidays that year, which aren't usually the kinds of photos you bring home for the holidays. But I had a good reason, I thought. There were a lot of homes that looked like this, people that were living in plastic, and they'd been doing this for years. It wasn't just for a couple of months. And I thought maybe we could do something about it. So I brought some photos and a little project proposal and came up with 4 houses that desperately needed repairs. And I asked my friends and family for a small donation, put something in a jar as a Christmas gift, whatever it might be. And we managed to raise enough money to put back together those 4 first homes. And it took back then a little bit less, but it only takes $2,000 to build a whole house. And that started out with 4 of them in 2007, and now we're up to 178, which I never dreamed would happen. It's really incredibly exciting. But it's because of many of you who were some of those first donors and the hospitality and the caring community that El Sauce is that this is happening. So I want to pass it off to the person that helped to really make this even more of a community. There's some of the building happening right there. So somebody who really helped make this community bigger and help this project grow far, far out was Bonnie Yanni. So I'm going to turn it over to her now.
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to see so many of you. Awesome. I miss you all. I want to just tell you that I was a nurse volunteering in the Central Day Salute in 2008 in January, and I met Megan at that time, and I asked her for some diversion, some physical work. So she said, oh, be on the corner Saturday morning at 7. We're going to go get a lot of bricks. So we went to the brickyard. We bought over 1,000 fired bricks. You can see them on the truck there. That flatbed truck, as you can see, is kind of a little wobbly on dirt roads. So they're trying to go up Dona Margarita's backyard to get to her backyard. And the bricks start falling off the truck. And it was like watching dollars just fall on the ground. We didn't know what to do, how to manage this, but the neighbors knew. And they came out and they started passing these bricks. Little kids, grandparents, everybody just made this great big long fire line and passed these bricks. When they were all done and stacked in Dona Margarita's backyard, people sang and danced and clapped. And I looked at Megan and said, oh my gosh, Megan, we can do this again. Get some more families. I'll come back next year with volunteers. We can do this again. So many of you that I see on the screen are volunteers, and you've been there. You've donated, and you are the life of the project. I'm so glad to see you. I hope we get to meet in El Sauce again. But because of you, we want to say Four Walls is sustainable. We are building houses, even though it's weird COVID time. Usually volunteers travel, they raise the money for the house. And so of course, without volunteers traveling, we're a little low on money. So we hope that, we'll all be able to return soon and continue. But in the meantime, I want to tell you that Four Walls has 4 employees who are being paid regularly. Pepe is our project manager. You can see him in the back there with the mustache and the little beard. Then he is our project manager. He does all the work there for organizing and heads the committee, the local committee, which I'll talk more about in a minute. Juan, the fellow next to him with the sunglasses on, is our mason. Juan makes $15 a day working with families to build the walls there in El Sauce. We have a carpenter who gets paid for building the 2 wooden doors for each house and the 2 window frames. We also have a welder that's paid regularly to weld the roof beams together and put on the zinc roofing. One of the important things is that in El Sauce, we have a committee of local people. This is a picture of the committee. There are 2 women, well, it looks like 3 women in that picture are there, and 2 men and Pepe. And they decide who gets the houses. The Americans don't decide any of that. It's all the local people who review the applications, go out and visit the families, and then decide who needs the houses and what their situations are. The most dire families get the houses first. So the selection is made by the committee. I just want to point that out. Right now we have 100, and I think we're going to start house number 179 in February. So thank you all. I mean, it's like Megan said, who would have dreamed this? But thank you for all being dreamers with us. I'll pass this on to the next person. Oh, there's Pepe and Juan.
Hey, just to interject for a second here, so thank you so much, Bonnie and Colleen. We've had a lot of people join in the meeting during the first few minutes, so I just wanted to update everybody. So Dan and Alice Yaman here, your moderators, I guess, for the night. If you have a question, we have a chat that will be monitored, and we will watch that and do the question and answer at the end of the session. As Bonnie was pointing out, just wanted to point out, right, we have no paid administration. We're just a bunch of kind of grassroots kind of people, kind of trying to pull something off tonight. And we appreciate everyone who's joined us tonight, including Pepe. We mentioned Pepe in the photo, but you don't have to look at the photo for Pepe because Pepe's on the call tonight from Nicaragua. So it was great that he could pull that off and join in as well. So with that, we will move on to Colleen, who's going to talk about the impact on the community.
Hi, everybody. I'm Colleen Dunham. Can you hear me? Am I muted? No.
You're good, Colleen. Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about impact, the impact of our project on El Sauce. I think it's easy enough to imagine the impact on the families, on the beneficiaries. They move from pretty
I'm so glad to see people.
Pretty difficult situations into houses that are beautiful to look at, that have roofs that don't leak, that have doors and windows that lock, and that they're so proud to be owners of. But it's important also to remember the bigger impact on the community of El Sauce. So Dan, we can move to the next slide. There's one of the families with their new house just in the early stages of being built, their old house in the background. And on the next slide are some more pictures of El Sauce. It's a small town in a poor country. So Nicaragua is the second poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And the money that our project brings to El Sauce has a real impact, a visible effect. Our workers have steady jobs, jobs that they can count on, jobs that allow them to take care of their families and send their kids to school, buy groceries. All of that money is money that's being spent in the local economy. The same is true for our suppliers, the people that we've done business with from the start, people that we couldn't get our work done without, but people who count on us for the business. All the supplies are bought in the local economy of El Sauce. And when we have people, volunteers that are going to work in Nicaragua with us, you can imagine that the impact is even greater. This is just a little itemization of what we spend when we go to visit. You know, we're on vacation, we're going out to dinner, we're paying for our lodging, buying gifts and souvenirs, riding the moto taxis. So it's money that stays in the local economy of El Sauce. And then I think on the next slide are, so the people that are directly impacted from our work. There's Eugenio, the carpenter, Pepe, our project manager, Juan and Chepe, Alvaro, who owns the brickyard, and Bernardo, who runs the hardware store. And then last but not least, most important, I think, is the impact that our friends in El Sauce have on us. I can tell you that no better place to get an education than El Sauce, to learn how to be resourceful or resilient or grateful or joyful. So the impact is real, the impact is visible, and the impact is reciprocal. Now I think we have a family.
Yeah, we're good. Thanks, Colleen. Appreciate it. That was awesome. So now it's the Spanish lesson time of the night. So there's going to be a video that we obtained from our family and friends, the workers in El Sauce. Shot a video of a family that's grateful. And we're going to share that with you. And let's see how your Spanish holds up. I kind of paraphrase things below it, but let's see how this goes. Hopefully you can hear it. We'll see.
¿Cómo se siente la familia de salir beneficiada del proyecto Cuatro Paredes?
Estamos muy felices. Primeramente le damos gracias a Dios y estamos muy agradecidos y le damos gracias al proyecto Cuatro Paredes por haber salido beneficiado con la construcción de nuestro hogar. Y le damos muchas gracias y ojalá que así como nos bendicieron a nosotros, sigan bendiciendo a otras familias que lo necesiten. Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
That was, yeah. So that's Juan filming it. How do we do? I hope we did okay with that. That's really cool. So the families, you know, it's amazing the appreciation that we get from the families. Usually not in a video. We actually, you know, often we will, if you help to build a home, there's a letter written by the family and thanks to all of us. And it's one of those moments where you don't need anything from a family, but it's really a warm experience. And for those of us that have done it multiple times, it just doesn't get old. So I'm hoping that we can send groups in the future. Okay, that was my little side note. So we don't need to hear it again though. So let's try to move on. There we go. Awesome. So now we're going to go to part 5. And Sally is going to talk about volunteer stories. For anyone who joined late, by the way, we do have the chat and we will do the Q&A at the end. And we appreciate everyone joining us tonight. So we're going to move on to part 5 with Sally. Oh, Sally, I think you're muted. I think you got a little mute. It's all right. Uh-oh.
How's that?
Hey, there we go. Good. We're good. Yep.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sally Keel. I've been a board member for about 8 years. Back then, we encouraged interested folks to find 2 or 3 friends, budget for an inexpensive foreign trip, and raise $2,000 to pay for the house you would be building. Over the years, we've had hundreds of volunteers from the US, especially from Western New York and around the world. We thank you for those of you who are on tonight for going to El Sauce to build the houses. You are young, old, students, retirees, sports teams, and families. In late years, we've had quite a few more student groups going. And we want to share 3 different stories centering around students. I'll start. I'm proud to have made a valuable 4 Walls connection to Keuka College. Is there a picture of the?
Yep.
Yeah.
We're good. I think we got that. Do you want, we have that and we have this. There's Keuka College itself.
College.
Not so much in the winter, but yeah.
I received a great letter from the Spanish professor who developed their Nicaraguan trip into a typical 3-credit course. All CUCA students have to participate in multiple field period experiences over January breaks and summers. They're required to do lots of preparation work and post-trip presentations and write-ups. Here are some of Malia's thoughts. It was the most meaningful and impactful international field period she had ever conducted. It was a life-changing trip for students and faculty. They were building relationships while building homes, and students expanded their sense of the world while giving families a safe place to live. It was a truly transformational experience where many of the students had never been outside New York State before. And she, like many of the rest of us, hoped to take more students to Alsace in the future. So on to Dan or Kiara.
Nope, Kira's on, but we have Alice here.
Yeah.
So let's so just to introduce a little bit, we're going to kind of go into the school volunteer groups, which have over the course of years has been incredible. We've had grade school, high school, and college groups go down to build houses, and the hope is that this will happen again when we're able to do that. And we're hoping that's going to be soon. If you weren't here for the very beginning, we talked about that there was some political unrest back in 2018, and with coronavirus, large groups going down to visit Nicaragua have been on hold, but we're hoping that that will continue in the future because it's a wonderful experience for the groups that go down and for the community in Alsace. So with that, we are going to go with a volunteer story with Alice. This is my daughter, Alice.
Hello.
Oh gosh, she was a lot younger back in 2013 when we took our first trip to Nicaragua. Now I should say, that was Alice's first trip to Alsace, Nicaragua. I had been there multiple times on medical work. I had first been to Alsace in 1998 as a medical student, and I spent a month in Alsace, which was a wonderful experience, and got to know the community. So it's great to be involved in, over the course of time, some multiple projects, but this one is kind of true to myself and in my heart, shall we say. So in 2013, I got to share the experience with Alice.
Yeah, so I'm 18 now. So I was 10 in that picture. We'd been looking around for a while because I really wanted to get involved with some kind of charity, and we found one that let me travel 5 hours and practice my Spanish. I did not know I was going to be involved with it for that long, and obviously I'm really happy that I have been. We've got a bunch of pictures from over the years. Those ones were all from my first trip.
Yeah.
I grew the bangs out like 3 years later. Yeah, but the involvement has remained consistent. So when I was in 5th grade, I did a fundraiser with my elementary school because we tend to do like 1 or 2 charitable projects every year, and I got permission from our principal to make this the star of our semester. So yeah, there's a little poster from my school, and there's one of the slides I used in my PowerPoint. If I remember correctly, my dad did most of the talking, but I was there. And no, I was not ready to talk in front of my whole school. I was kind of scared just standing there. But yeah, that's one of the slides. The statistics are still basically the same. That's how much money and how many materials you need to build a house. And we made it with that fundraiser about 3/4 of the way there. And then through friends and family, we made it the rest of the way to building an entire house. And since then, I've been back 5 more times.
Yeah, pretty cool too, because in 2014, if you can read in the lower right, it says FRES. If you know French Road Elementary School, that was Alice's elementary school. They raised the money for the house that was built in 2014. And I think Pepe actually made that plaque for us, our mason. And it's interesting because we visited this family that we built the house for in 2014, and they still have that plaque. You know, they have the 4 walls plaque on the outside of the house, but they keep this in like a drawer in their house. So that just makes me feel a little bit old because that seems like it was a while ago. So in 2017, we actually went with the whole family. So Alice and I have gone down every year, including in 2020, right before the pandemic, which we'll get to a slide of that in a second. We've gone down every year. In 2017, we took our whole family down to Alsace. We just wanted to mention that, not so much to talk about ourselves, but to talk about what a great experience it was for our family. And we didn't just build a house. That was great. We did that for part of the time. And then we also went to a language school and picked up some Spanish and studied in another part of the country as part of kind of a larger trip. But just a wonderful family experience in addition to the four walls experience. So then, yes, this is right before the pandemic. It's crazy to think that we were down there in December, January of 19 into 20. And there's Alice, all grown up, playing chess with with Pepe. That's really
For
cool.
the record, he didn't know the rules when I beat him, so we're gonna have to have a rematch at some point.
Sounds like a reasonable plan. Excellent. And just, I just wanted to reiterate, I'd mentioned this before, the challenges of Nicaragua. You know, this has been an important subject that's kind of gone on recently, which is in 2018, there was political unrest, and there still is political turbulence. Now, we are a safety first organization, so we follow the US State Department guidelines in terms of travel. We're very cautious about that, and we monitor that situation closely. 2021 is an election year. We are not a political organization. We are not a religious organization. However, we need to at least acknowledge a situation that's going on and make sure that the safety of everything is it's just vital to our project. As we talked about, Nicaragua is a poor country. They've had political problems. Then they've, COVID, which actually they're doing okay at the moment with that. But they've had hurricanes as well that have come through. That was in the news. So it's been a real challenging time. It's important to point out that during that challenging time, a lot of international organizations that have worked in Nicaragua, in particular in El Sauce, are no longer working there. A lot of them have left. Our organization has managed to persevere throughout that, and we're at building house number 179 shortly, because we have a good infrastructure in terms of people that are running the organization locally, are locals. They have continued on without really stopping it all. So it's a testament to the people of Nicaragua in terms of their project going on, and that our donation stream has been stable as well. And clearly we're trying to get a little bit more of that going tonight. So with that, there we go. Colleen and Colin, are you doing okay?
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
So costs, funding, and how to help out. So the next slide shows the costs associated with a four walls house. As you've heard from other speakers, the entire cost is about $2,000 per house, which includes wages. But the Four Walls Project has built a lot of houses, 179, you've heard the number. That's a lot of money. Where does it come from? We have no big donors. We receive no grants. We do no organized fundraising. So how do we pay for all those houses?
You want to come up here?
We paid for those houses with little donations from big-hearted people. You heard Megan talk about her idea for the project when she went home at Christmas time and asked her family for cash instead of presents. That's how they built house number 1. And then you heard Bonnie's declaration, Megan, we can do this again. And Bonnie went home and she talked to her friends, her family, and they reached into their pockets for $5, $10, and $20 bills. And that's how we built the second house and the third house, and that's how we continue to build houses in El Sauce. Little donations from big-hearted people. So the next slide, let's see, Dan, yeah. Today is your day to be big-hearted, if you're so inclined. And the easiest way is to go to our website, fourwallsproject.org. The donate button is on the homepage. And when you click that button, it takes you to the webpage of another organization, Journeys of Solutions. We call Journeys of Solutions our fiscal partner. they are actually the charity that is recognized by the Internal Revenue Service. So they do all, they handle all our funds, all our donations go through Journeys of Solutions, excuse me. And Journeys of Solutions does all our reporting to the IRS. It's through Journeys of Solutions that you are able to receive your tax deduction. And what we would like today, more than anything, if possible, is to get some additional subscription or recurring donations. And I think the reason is clear. It just allows us to plan, to be able to tell our workers that, you know, we're going to be able to build house number 179 and house number 180 and into 2021. So I think on the next slide, oh, this is just a quote that I can tell you is so true. And how do I know this? From my work in Nicaragua, that it's by spending of yourself that you become rich. And I think everybody that's worked on this project, you know, would tell you the same. So now Colin is going to talk about the this new idea that we're going to have on donors.
All right, thanks, Colleen, and hi, everyone. So hopefully at this point in the presentation, you're inspired on joining the Four Walls Project mission and becoming a building block in our next homes. So what we've done is we've created 4 different donor levels, and these donor levels are based on key pieces of the house in each home that we built. So for the first level is the mortar, and so that's really any donation. Anything that you could donate today, we're incredibly grateful for. Every dollar we get goes a long way. The second is the brick, which is $10 a month, which, as Colleen was saying, is recurring, or 150 one-time donation. The third is the wall, which is $25 a month, or $350 one-time donation. And then finally, our highest is the roof, and that is a $50 per month donation or $700 one-time donation. And as Colleen was mentioning, it is really important that we get some recurring donations because it allows us to forecast the budget for 2021 so we can really understand how many homes we can build. So speaking of 2021 and the upcoming year, I'm going to swing it over to Dan, Bonnie, and Megan, who are going to discuss our goals for the upcoming year.
Thanks, Colin. Meg, you want to start?
Absolutely. So thank you all again for listening and bearing with us and hearing us when we're not muted. I think I'm not muted.
You're good.
All right, cool. So as we've just heard, being a sustaining donor is like the most helpful thing that any of you all could do, but just being here and being part of this community is the most important first step if you haven't been involved with Four Walls before. And one thing I want to just mention that I think we've touched on briefly, but is so important, is that every dollar that you all donate goes straight to the project. We are not paying these volunteers that are part of our board. We don't have any overhead at this point, thanks to Journeys of Solutions being such an amazing partner. And it goes straight into a brick, into buying those bags of mortar, into making a roof and paying the masons and the other workers that make that happen. So that's really important to us. That has been a founding principle for us since the very beginning, and we're continuing on that way. So every dollar goes straight to Four Walls, goes straight to Nicaragua. And I want to just talk briefly about what we're looking at coming up next. So as you all know, over the past several years, it's been a mix of stuff. You've heard from Dan about some of the challenges that we've had, and we've seen those impacts of both the political unrest and now COVID, with a lot fewer volunteer groups and other individuals going down and raising money to make these houses happen. So over the last year, we actually cut down. We've been doing about 15 houses a year. And in 2020, we cut it down to 12. We really want to get it back up to that 15 houses a year. That's 15 families that might be at least 4 people, which for you people who are good at math, you can figure out how much that is. I think that's 60. But there's a lot of people that are going to be affected by every one of those dollars that we donate. But that's also a lot of dollars. 15 houses is $30,000 if it's $2,000 a house. So that's our goal. That's what we're hoping to do in 2021. And we hope to do that again the following year and again for the years after. But I think as all of us are experiencing in this pandemic time, it's just one day at a time. So if we can get through 2021, we'll be really excited. I'm going to turn it over to Bonnie to just say a couple more words. And again, thank you all so much for being here.
Hi again. I just wanted to say, I'm on fire about this project. I just love it. I love to talk in person. I can't wait to do that again. But in the meantime, the fire needs a little fanning. We're kind of in a little bit of a time that's so weird. People want to go, nobody can travel. So your dollars, like Megan said, every single dollar goes directly to the project. And we are starting house number 179 in February. So we're moving forward and we hope that we can see you guys back down there again. I don't have anything else to say except I want to be there.
It's cool.
You.
You good there, Meg? We're good?
Yeah, if you want to go into the last slide and then we'll have Colin share some questions. Oh, it's got some fun drawing on it too.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from.
If there's a shared screen, people have the ability to draw on it.
Hey,
Quality artwork,
I don't
everyone.
know if that was
Cool.
a fun accident or like on purpose, but
Yeah, just fun is the word. I really want to say that this is a fun group to be a part of. For those of you who are so inclined and they're watching this, a lot of our fun from this came from us going down as groups, right? We had like school groups and it was, I also just don't like.
I'm not gonna mess anything up. I'm just using my annotation abilities to.
There we go. We got it erased. Nice. Look at that go. Hey, so I just say that, going back as a group, that was actually one of the big strengths of this this project was going down as a school group, going down as a friend group, going down as a family. And actually that brought a lot of the donations with it because people were our group kind of grew, and then you got to know other people that were part of this. Because of what's gone on in the last, couple of years, that's been more of a challenge. We're hoping that will come back. That would be a wonderful thing because that, I think, would bring us all together again a little bit. Because I think you can get kind of spotty when you're not seeing anybody, even like in your regular lives right now, you're not seeing anybody. And I don't think that's such a great thing for any organization. For us, what was the fun part about this was all coming together. And we're hoping we can do that again. So anyways, yes, so we'll go ahead. Colin, do we have anything in the Q&A? And the other thing about the Q&A is Pepe is here. Pepe's our Mason in El Sauce. We can get some questions to him as well if you have questions that would go through Pepe, and we'll have Pepe say something in a little bit too as well.
Totally. Yeah. So everyone's done an awesome job. The chat is full of questions. I'd like to thank everyone for being such amazing supporters as well tonight. We are all very thankful. So speaking of Pepe, actually the first question in the chat from Dylan is, how long does it take to build a house?
Pepe, ¿puedes escucharme? Pepe?
Sí.
Pepe, hola.
Sí.
Hola, gracias. Todo está bien. Tenemos una pregunta de unas personas como en la red. Quiere saber cuánto tiempo dura para construir una casa.
12 días.
12 days. You can build a house in 12 days.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then actually, while Pepe is still alive and there, the second question was, do the families who get a home help with the build of the home?
Pepe, como la pregunta es si las familias que reciben una casa ayuda con la construcción de la casa.
Bueno, ayuda, sí, ayuda siempre. Lo único que no hace es poner ladrillo, pero de ahí la ayuda es en todo menos en poner ladrillo.
Gracias. Yep, they help in every aspect of the house except actually laying the brick. I think if I was going to clarify that, I'd say well, that's kind of a mason skill. So actually the putting of the bricks in a way that's level, and we've been part of that, you don't want to kind of mess that up. So in terms of every other aspect of the mixing of the cement, of doing every other aspect of the house, yes, the family is actually required to help build a house.
I think I'd do a great job laying bricks. I don't know what you're talking about.
Dan, if you go back one slide, I think we'll see a very young little person who is helping out on her house.
Technical difficulties. Oh man. Okay. So.
If not, there is one last slide at the end, Dan. And then Colin, I'll let you go back to it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's all right. We'll go to the end.
We're good.
Okay. So for the next question, this is more of a travel question, and maybe Megan or Dan, you guys can answer this, or potentially Colleen. Once the pandemic is over, will it be safe to travel with my family to help build a home? So let's say 2022, traveling to Nicaragua with your family.
That's a good one. Meg, you want us to tackle or?
Sure, I can start with that, but you are the one who's brought your whole family, so I'll let you say something too, Dan. Absolutely, we'll be keeping an eye on the situation throughout this coming year and certainly into 2022 as to how safe things are, both in regards to the pandemic and also in regards to the political situation. As Dan mentioned, it is an election year coming up, and that often means large-scale parades and a lot of people out in the streets. In the past, they've often been peaceful, but obviously there's also been a lot of political unrest in the last few years. So it's something we're just keeping an eye on, and we really hope that it will be safe enough for people to go back as soon as possible, and as soon as we are all feeling safe enough in regards to COVID. I think that it's easier in general for somebody to go with a family or a small group of friends. It's a lot more challenging for us to be able to get a whole school group down without all of the high-level departments in the U.S. Department of State saying, Nicaragua's great, you should go there. So at this point, I would say going with your family or going with your friends a year and a year and a half from now, hopefully will be a reality.
Yeah, I would say too that there's kind of the two forms of safety, I think, that happens. The political safety and then the infectious one, I think, that people worry about by traveling to Central America. The physical safety, it's really cool. One thing we may not have discussed completely is El Salce is a town of like 5,000 or 10,000, catchment area of about maybe 30,000. I hope I got that right. It's about that. It's a pretty small community where everyone kind of knows everybody. So actually when you're physically there and you're from Rochester or you're from the United States or whatever, people kind of know that, it's kind of a familiar to them. So like, we're very welcome there. We're not, you don't feel that much of a foreigner amongst the group down there, and it's a very controlled kind of environment. So I felt very comfortable traveling down with my family from the setting of El Salce. From the infectious standpoint, that's something that changes throughout the year and years. So we need to we always keep an eye on that. A lot of times we'll suggest that someone kind of touch base with their doctor. I've never had an issue, but always keeping an eye on that is pretty reasonable. But like in terms of medical safety, never had an issue with it, but we always keep an eye on that because mosquito-borne illness is there for sure, has ups and downs. And we usually have a pretty good sense of kind of what's going on.
Perfect. Before the next question, I'd actually also like to thank Maria in the chat. She's doing an awesome job also answering these questions. So the more support, the better on these questions. The next one is from Davis. He first says almost 180 houses. That's awesome. Yes, it is. And, we're working towards 200 with all your guys' support. So thanks for that. And it's a good question. What's something you did not expect when you first got involved with the Four Walls Project? I can take that. Maybe we can hear from somebody else as well. So the first time I was introduced to the Four Walls Project, I was 18 years old, going to Nicaragua for the first time, didn't speak any Spanish, and, came in expecting to be treated like a foreigner in El Salce. And as Dan mentioned, that's almost opposite of what happens. Once you get involved with the community, you start building homes, you become not only a member of that community, but you feel like a family member as well. And every time I've gone down since, I get treated that same familial way. So that's something I wasn't expecting, but I'm incredibly grateful for.
Yeah, I can say the same. I feel like I have a separate family down in Nicaragua. I hear from people occasionally. I get Christmas greetings. I get random greetings like, oh, ¿cómo estás, Bonnie? Bonnie. I'm Bonnie, not Bonnie. But anyway, I think that is the true feeling. You will just fall in love with the people. They are so genuine, so real, very, very warm and kind. So I don't know what else to say. That's enough.
I'm going to ask Margaret Latona to comment on this. If you're still out there, Margaret.
I'm here.
Because Margaret went last December and she hasn't stopped talking about it.
I know it was really the most rewarding trip that we have ever been on. I felt like I really made a difference in people's lives, and I highly recommend it. I think when people saw me coming, they'd say, oh, here she's going to talk about it again.
Yeah.
It was worth it, really was. And we'd like to go back again. I've been practicing. I've been trying to teach myself Spanish, and I'll get there.
That's great. Any other board members? Sally, did you want to say something?
I have a thought, and I heard it especially from some of the CUCA students, but I've heard it from other groups too, especially students. Surprised that the people and the children are so happy, even though they have so little.
Mm-hmm.
And, but they thought it was amazing. But we all know that simplicity can be happy. If you don't know what you're missing, just enjoy life. And they are.
It is a bit cliche, I know, but like you get more than you give. Honestly, you go down there and you come back with that experience. You're like, you know, you feel like you donated, but you actually get some. And that lesson is a really important thing. It's like the happiest kids and families that, you know, appreciate small things, you know, and it's that's really, really cool.
Oh, I've got one. I'm sorry, one last thing. I wasn't expecting to be presented with a baby chicken. But that did happen. It was my second year, so I was like 11, and the kids who, you know, lived in the house that we were building were a few years younger than me, so like 7 and 9 at the time. They're teenagers now, which is crazy to me. But we spent a lot of time like playing with their little flock of chicks, and on the last day, they gave me one to take back home with me, which was really sweet, but I'm not allowed to do that because customs is a thing. But I really appreciated it, and I really wish that I could have.
Yeah, the family didn't appreciate that we can't just take this baby chicken home with us. Yeah, that was one of those cultural moments that we had to figure out how we were gonna respectfully decline a gift. I don't know.
That's my favorite story from my entire experience, though. That made me really happy.
Awesome. That's great. So for our next question, this might be another one for Pepe or any of the other board members. We were asked who will be doing the building for house number 179. Are volunteers heading to El Salce or are locals doing it?
I can grab Pepe. Pepe, en la casa número 179 que va a construir ahora, es como quién va a construir la casa. ¿Es usted y Juan y la familia? ¿No hay voluntarios ahora? ¿Hay alguien que está ayudando con la casa?
Bueno, Juan el albañil va a ser el que va a construir.
No, ¿y la familia también?
Y la familia también va a ayudar a Juan como ayudante a hacer mezcla, mover el concreto,
yep,
y mojar los ladrillos, hacer la arena.
Claro. Perfecto, gracias. Yep, so there's no volunteers down there right now, so that Juan is going to be the one that's going to be kind of running the show. He was on one of the slides, actually was the narrator of the video that you guys all saw too. So Juan's he'll be kind of running the show with the family. And Pepe was just explaining, if you guys got that, was just the family will be helping with all the other stuff, and then Juan will be the mason laying the brick.
Daniel.
Yep, momentito. Yep.
Y a veces no hay mano de ayudar de una familia. A veces la familia tiene problemas. Es muy rara vez, pero a veces la familia tiene problemas para ayudar. Sí. Y el proyecto Cuatro Paredes nos ha autorizado a pagar un ayudante extra.
Gracias, Pepe. Yep, so Pepe was just explaining that every now and then, so most of the time, the family helps with the house. There are circumstances where the family is unable to do that. And when that happens, Four Walls, our board, will authorize a helper to help with the mason, but usually the family will help. In this case, we have the family and the mason will be building that house, number 179. Gracias, Pepe.
For our next question, it is if Four Walls is considering doing any work outside of Nicaragua. We can actually take that to the next level, any work outside of El Salce.
Who wants to tackle that? That's a good one.
Well, we don't have any plans for that right now. There continue to be many families in the area of town that are needing help. And I think Pepe has a waiting list of 28 families that have applied and are waiting to have a house. So for right now, we are trying to move. We're doing experimental work where we are traveling out of town maybe 5 miles, which means people have to take a bus. They have to get the supplies out to the house site. So that's a little trickier. It costs just a little bit more money for transport, but we're pretty much within a 5 mile, 7 mile radius of the town right now. Anybody else want to comment? Feel free.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, when we talk about, go ahead.
I should just say that the Four Walls board makes these decisions based on what we hear from Pepe and what's coming back to us from El Salce, what we're hearing from people. So it's not just our kind of heavy hand saying, oh, this is what you have to do. You know, the need comes from El Salce, and we listen and then we discuss it. So thank you.
Yeah, I would just add, Bonnie, that, you know, our project is small, and that's one of the ways that it's as intimate as it is. That, you know, we're you know, Rochester, Western New York based in the US, and we're El Salce based in Nicaragua, and that's what makes it feel like a family. And there's until we run out of need in El Salce, you know, we enjoy doing it just there.
I say it's a great question too, because in every board meeting, I think over the last couple of years, we've discussed how to expand into the rural areas around El Salce. And the logistical challenges of doing that are tricky. I mean, some of these small communities are relatively inaccessible by vehicles, which makes getting bricks somewhere a bit more of a challenge, right? So, you know, getting your workers out there, but the need is there. So that's actually one of the kind of the fun and challenging aspects of, we're actually looking at that right now in terms of rural areas. But I think going beyond El Salce, I think at this point we have plenty of need around the place that I would consider home base.
Yeah.
Great. This next question is from Carol. This might be for you, Colleen. Do you prefer a check because credit card fees that come out of the donation?
Yeah, a check is fine. A check is perfect. And there are instructions on how to make out the check and where to mail the check. But Carol, if you want to leave me your information, I'll make sure that you know, that I get you that information, you know, one-on-one.
Great. Only 2 more. Yeah, go ahead, Megan. Sorry.
No, you're good. Just quickly too, Journeys of Solutions helps to, as our fiscal partner, helps to offset those credit card fees as well. So ultimately, you know, making a even small recurring donation is totally worth it to us.
Perfect. This next question from Patty, I think it's directed at me. Who is, just curious, who is Colin in terms of the Four Walls? That's me. Hi, Patty, how are you? My name's Colin Johnson, and I've been working with Four Walls since 2016, and I'm a proud board member. Next one is from Jim. This is a good question, Jim. With the various weather seasons, in which months do you build or not build a house?
Do you want me to ask Pepe?
That'd be great.
About that? Pepe, bueno, tenemos una pregunta sobre el clima en El Salce. que es como hay meses cuando es más difícil construir casas allá. Es como hay meses que no puede construir casas, por ejemplo.
De poder se puede construir, pero con dificultad. Es el mes de octubre.
¿Todo de octubre?
El mes de octubre es el mes más lluvioso, entonces la construcción es dudable de que tal vez se puede construir o tal vez no, porque es el mes más lluvioso.
Yeah. So the only real problem time during the year is the middle, like in October, where it's really a raining season there. But they don't necessarily stop construction. It just becomes a heck of a lot more difficult. And I know, just as a side kind of conversation, sometimes they choose a site that will be a little bit more hospitable when it gets really wet, because you can imagine, I know we've been there where it's like super wet, where trying to create a house isn't possible in certain areas at that time of the year. But they try to battle through that, but definitely it's more of a challenge. And I know in years past, at least, we've lowered our expectations right around that time because logistically it's harder. But the rest of the year, no, it's really warm most of the year.
Perfect.
Gracias, Pepe.
So those are all the questions I believe we have for this evening. Want to thank everybody. We're almost an hour in. You guys have been amazing support in hearing us out and hearing how we're going to tackle 2021. For most of you, you're probably either friends or families of board members. So if you guys have any more questions, just reach out to whatever board member you know directly, or you could go to the website and fill out either our contact form or info@fourwallsproject.org. And we'd love to answer any questions you have, or if you're looking just to get more involved with the Four Walls Project.
Alan, did you see Diane's question?
No, we got one more. You made any recent changes in design? I know a few years ago you were considering some changes to the roof. Okay, that might be one more Pepe question if he is still around.
Yeah, sure.
On
Pepe,
just the design of the house.
Pepe, es como, hay una pregunta sobre si hemos tenido como cambios en la construcción de la casa. Yo sé que antes como hablamos sobre un cambio de techo, hemos tenido como cambios en la estructura, la manera que construimos las casas, incluyendo como los techos. Hemos cambiado los techos, ¿sí? En los últimos años.
La pregunta es cambio desde los inicios del proyecto.
Do you guys want to know from the beginning or in the last few years? What do you think? In the last few years, have we had changes? Is that what we want, or from the beginning?
I think in the last few years.
En los últimos años, cambiamos como los techos, ¿sí?
And I think they're talking about that RIT idea for roofs.
Okay.
Yeah.
De los techos, cambiamos como los techos hace años ahora, ¿sí?
Sí, cambiamos la madera para el metal porque la madera es muy escasa.
Sí. So, yo no puedo recordar cuándo fue, como hace más o menos. So we changed from wood to metal roofs. And I was asking Pepe when, and now I've just confused him, and now he's going to look up. My bad. He's going to look up exactly when he changed it. That's my fault. But I know we changed from wood to metal. I think the idea was the wood was like it would deteriorate, right? So it wasn't
getting harder to get, Dan. It was getting really hard to get. So
yeah, and it's also, it wasn't just the roof. Oh, go ahead, Bonnie.
Oh, I said we found that over time, the earlier houses, the roofs didn't hold up well. Some of them had insects that got into the wood, and some of the beams had to be replaced. That's why we do metal beams now, and we do, in the one picture, you can see there were metal beams and there's a zinc roof. So that can't happen again. The roof is sturdy and it'll be there for a long time.
You can see the metal on the metal bars there, and this is the one from last year that we can see. Pepe has something for us. Sí, Pepe, por favor.
La primera casa del techo de metal fue la casa número 103.
So house number 103. House number
14 de diciembre del 2015.
So 2015, in December of 2015, house number 103 was our first house with a metal roof. We switched from wood to metal at the time. Gracias, Pepe. Estamos bien. Perfecto. By the way, Pepe, I mean, just as a point there, Pepe's very organized, right? So like right there, we ask him a question and he's got, you can see where he is. He's got like a little office there. For those of us that have been there, he's got like his little storage area where he's got the supplies for making the house. And then he's got like his files basically. So, you know, we ask him a question about that.
Boom.
You know, he's got it at his fingertips that he's gonna give us the information that we need. So he's organized. It's a good thing.
I should also mention quickly that we have a volunteer named Ralph Fearley, who is our accountant. He is a volunteer. He's a friend of Bill Stock, who is a board member. Ralph goes through every single penny that gets donated to the project and how it gets spent every month. We get a very extensive list of supplies, costs, how the money was spent, and update on what our funds are and who's been paid out what. I mean, it is just, we're so grateful to Ralph. He has done a fantastic job. And JOS, I know Journeys of Solutions is really, really grateful to Ralph, because when they get audited, if they got audited, Ralph has everything, just like Pepe. It's just right there on for years and years and years. There's no question about any of the money not going where it needs to be. So we're grateful for that. And thank you, Ralph. We just have so many good people involved in this project. That's what makes it work. Honestly, I can't say more than that. It's just all of you who've helped out. It's just good people. And if you get to travel, you'll meet wonderful people. So I hope we can all go back soon.
I'd like to mention that for one of the fundraisers, for one of the trips we went down, I had tried to raise money by putting a fundraising on Facebook and was disappointed when I hadn't realized that they take a piece out of that. And so not all that money ended up going straight there. And I wouldn't do that again. I would go straight to Journeys of Solutions.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good point.
I just want to add one more quick thing on that question about the roofs and the design. And this is, since we've already sung Pepe's praises a bunch, I'll just sing him a little bit more. He was the person who really came forward to us and let us know that some of those families that Bonnie mentioned, that they're either the posts that hold up the corner of their house or the roof structure itself were being destroyed by insects or falling apart because they were made of wood. Pepe helped to identify a bunch of those, and that has been sort of an ongoing project to replace those with metal and cement. And we've just been really grateful for his connection with the community and his commitment to doing this work and doing it fully for everybody present who's getting a house now and for folks who got them in the past too.
Including, you know, it's interesting, one of our last houses, Pepe, just remember he had a suggestion. There was a gentleman who has polio, incredible. There's someone that has polio that needed a special accommodation within the house, because we have a pretty prescribed house that's done pretty much similarly for everyone. And when there's a special accommodation that needs to be made for someone, he will ask the board for extra money to accommodate that. And this gentleman, like, an incredible story with pictures, and he sends us photos of the construction and what is needed. And this gentleman who needed a special bedding arrangement so he could climb into his bed, we of course approve things like that. So Pepe's very creative with the way that he kind of analyzes a situation and has to be creative, because you'd think that the four walls is just the four walls and the house is the same, but there's always something that can come up, unique situations. And so Pepe's been around for a long time. And he's been up here. He's come and visited Rochester many times. So hopefully you guys, if you're not down there to meet him, you can meet him here sometime. I only knew we were talking about him so much. Pepe, estamos hablando sobre usted. Gracias por todo.
Sí.
Todas cosas buenas.
Sí, claro. Are we good? We never really thought about the way we would formally end this, like say goodbye. So,
I can say people generally get Zoom fatigue after about an hour, and it's been that long. Great to see all of you guys. And I don't know, we should take a screen break after this.
It's
Well,
been wonderful to see some familiar faces and Four Walls faces. We hope we can get together again and support the project some more. We're looking forward to it.
oh, thank you. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Diane. And thank
I
you,
wanted to
everyone. I think we're wrapping things up. So, like you said, we really appreciate the hour you've spent with us. You know, we couldn't be Four Walls without your support. So we thank you for that. And we hope you have an awesome 2021. Sure will be better than 2020.